Episode 5 of Dutton Ranch begins with Rip and Beth reflecting on the quiet outside the ranch. With no cattle, they found themselves at a bit of a difficult crossroads. Carter still hasn't spoken to Beth since their argument at the end of the last chapter, but Rip is confident he'll come around eventually. He also knows that they need to come up with a plan to get their ranch moving again, but for now the pair need to pay their bills. This bill paying comes from a new deal between the two ranches. Everett picks up Rip and they head over to the Jackson place, and at 10 Petal, Rip speaks to Beulah in private while Everett waits out in his truck. Rip wants to cut a deal and offers his services as the foreman there. Beulah admits she wants someone who can work smarter not harder, given their tight margins and the amount of land they have to cover. Beulah promises not just her money but also her loyalty if Rip proves his worth. For now it seems the pair are on the same page. Beth isn't exactly happy about this arrangement, given there's no love lost between her and Beulah, but Rip is adamant this is the best way forward. He leaves at 4:30 AM the next day, heading over to start work at Beulah's. Rip immediately organises the troops and puts the men to work, and his aura and calm but tough demeanour is enough to convince them all to follow his lead. However, it soon becomes clear that this isn't a tight-knit operation, because there's still plenty of hostility between Austin and Chet to contend with. Rip speaks to Austin after the day's work and they get talking about Wes. Given he went missing a few weeks ago, Rip realises this is connected to the dead body he found and dumped in the mine. Next, Rip speaks to Chet and forces him out. Beth doesn't trust Beulah, but is convinced that despite her burning through 3 foremans in the last year, the same isn't going to work with Rip. Meanwhile, Carter and Oriana end up over at Dwight's place. They drink together and even feed that leopard, but Miguel shows not long after to take Oriana away. It turns out Carter already knows about the cattle and the sickness, and he vents to Dwight about this. The guy offers some solid advice though about his family, although Carter doesn't really listen. Well, that is until cops show up at his place. Dwight tries to make a run for it, but he doesn't get far, and he winds up shot in the back, and while bleeding out, Carter is handcuffed right next to him. Back at the ranch, Chet confronts Whackin and threatens to oust Wes's murder too. Whackin pays him money and shrugs off the man's concerns, telling him he has 2 ways of leaving the ranch. This, of course, is a not so subtle hint that he could be taken care of, just like Wes. With Rip staying for dinner with Beulah, knowing if he doesn't then this could cause problems, Beth heads out after doing some research. However, she leaves dinner for Carter, who's currently indisposed at the police station. Sheriff Wade speaks to Carter, telling him that Dwight was a drunk, a thief and also an insurance fraudster. While Wade believes his death has made the county a better place, Carter is torn up over the death of his friend. In exchange for keeping quiet about Dwight being shot dead by the officers, he's allowed to go home and his folks won't find out about this either. Carter is a bit of a mess though, and Oriana catches up and gives him a big hug. That night Beth shows up to see Beulah at her place, swallowing her pride and deciding to have that promised drink after all. Speaking truthfully, Beth admits their herd has been destroyed thanks to the foot and mouth disease. She doesn't do well with fear and also wants to make money. Given the way Beulah's place has been laid out, complete with plenty of taxidermy heads hanging on the walls, Beth knows that Beulah will go to extreme lengths to protect what's hers. She's also done her research on the woman too, explaining what she's been doing all day. Now in 2007, Beulah and Rob Will were so desperate to make this ranch work that they turned the place into a game lodge for trophy hunters. This helped to pay the bills and get the ranch moving. In 2010, South Texas suffered the worst drought in a century and turned the place to dust. They survived, but since then the ranch has been holding on at best. Beth calls Beulah easy prey, but decides they need to evolve this ranch. Beth wants Beulah to hire her, and in doing so promises that in 3 years she'll rebuild this 10 Petal brand into a household name, complete with premium cuts and completely recession proof. However, to make this happen, they're going to need a new breed. Beth is offering an exit and promises something substantial, and Beth promises that nobody will fight harder for her, and she wants 20% of the profit. In 5 years, Rip and Beth will then be out, and Dutton isn't part of the deal, and the name won't be hers, but she will get Beth's expertise. It's certainly an enticing offer, and when Joaquin finds out, he's shocked. However, things are about to take an awkward turn, given Rob Will is now back in town. That night, Beth returns to Rip and is confident that in a week, she'll know everything there is to know about Beulah. It's here where Rip brings up Wes's dead body and tells her they need to be careful around this family. Episode 6 of Dutton Ranch starts with Carter still distant from Beth. At breakfast, the family talk where Carter explains that he's heading out with Oriana and won't be back until late. He struggles to open up to the pair about his troubles and eventually leaves. Rip then turns his attention back to work. Tempet will have a new herd of Angus that needs branding, so he brings Zachariah and Azul over to help with this. They keep an eye on the herd and quickly take away any that need medical attention. Meanwhile, Everett shows to see Beulah, who's about to host a big party given the ranch is turning 190 years old. She wants Everett to be her date for this event, and he agrees. For now, business turns to Beth and Beulah, who fly out to meet a businessman named Zane. She knows how pivotal this meeting is to growing their business, because the guy was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and he built his empire without inheriting a penny. According to Beth, Zane is someone who sees what most people don't. During the meeting, Beth talks a good game and explains the benefits of Tempetal, along with the package deal of an authentic cowboy story. Beth then turns the spotlight to Beulah, who talks about her family history and the tough times they've been through. Her charm, coupled with Beth's steely determination, seem to win him over. In the midst of this, Rob Will winds up Chet and tries to encourage him not to have such a coward's heart. After buying some guns, Rob Will calls Chet his real brother and decides they need to fight back and take what's rightfully theirs. While all this is going on, we cut across to the relative calm of Oriana and Carter fishing on the lake. Carter opens up and explains that, although he should feel grateful, he also feels lost. Carter feels like he's being funneled into a very specific version of who or what he is, and he's struggling with his own identity. Oriana encourages Carter to be his own man and not bend to the whims of those around him. While they talk, Carter admits that he loves her. Oriana does not take it particularly well, telling him he doesn't know what love is. However, she receives a message, cutting their fishing trip short. Back at Tempetal, hostilities continue to rise between Zach and Azul. During the branding business, the pair eventually agree to a little competition between the two ranches. Naturally, the Duttons come out on top. On the way to the house though, Chet arrives and holds a gun up to Joaquin. Chet loses control and shoots Joaquin in the hand, but before he can hit a kill shot, Miguel shoots Chet dead. While Miguel is left to clear up the mess, Rip arrives and takes Joaquin out on the road, demanding the truth about Wes's body. It's here Joaquin explains that Wes was Rob Will and Chet's dealer. Things spiraled out of control, and Wes paid the ultimate price for that. Joaquin promises that Rob Will isn't coming back, and all of this is dealt with, but we know that that's far from the truth. Either way, this is enough to convince Rip to bring Joaquin to Everett's place to get patched up. Now as the episode closes out, we cut across to Beth and Beulah one more time. Drinking at the bar, their chat takes an interesting turn when Beulah brings up the Yellowstone history and, in particular, what happened to Jamie. Now, Beth and Rip killed Jamie in Yellowstone series finale as revenge for Jamie's role in John Dutton's assassination. Beth knows Beulah is using this as leverage and keeps her cards close to her chest. Episode 7 of Dutton Ranch begins with us in the past. We're at August 1981 and we're right in the heart of Fort Worth. A young Beulah is dropped off by Mariano at the bar, but he keeps a close eye on her while she lets loose with her friends. There's line dancing, bull riding and plenty of drinking. And while Mariano hangs at the bar, Beulah is approached by a suave kid called Luke. She introduces herself as Angel, and the pair end up dancing quite quickly after a bit of flirting. The pair light up the dance floor and have good chemistry together, but there's something else going on here. The barmaid, Swellen, starts chatting up Mariano and hands over a bucket of beers. He's not in the mood to flirt though, given his wife and son Joaquin are back home. At this point, Swellen breaks character and admits she can't game a married man, and all of this was a play for Beulah to slip out. And Mariano does eventually find Beulah, some way up the road with her dress out of place and a nasty gash across her face. She's clearly been abused, but Beulah tells Mariano to lie and claims she fell off the bull. Back in the present, Beulah prepares for a big anniversary evening. She shows up to see the ranch hands, explaining that she's decided to set up an open tab at the Split Heart Bar so they can let loose. Beulah runs the party prep with an iron fist though, making sure everything is just so. For once, Oriana is actually playing ball and rocks up in a flowery dress. Beulah is delighted, but it's clear there's something else going on here. Before they head out to the party, Carter has a quiet word with Rip. He thanks him for everything he and Beth done for him and how they've treated him. Rip calls the kid his son in a lovely touch before they head out for a ride before the party. Back at Tempetle, Joaquin admits that he's grateful for what Beulah has done for him. She's prepped to hand over the reins of the ranch to him, with a big speech lined up that night about how much she cares. Now at the party, Oriana distances herself from Carter after his love confession and begins chatting up a guy called Harrison. Oriana introduces Carter as his friend and shrugs the kid off, telling him to get them drinks. It feels like a repeat of episode 1 with those girls at school, but this time Carter isn't falling for it. Stewing at the bar, Sheriff Wade approaches and warns Carter over getting involved. He winds the kid up, clearly itching for a reason to put him behind bars once again. Rip shrugs off Joaquin's thanks for patching his hand up, while Zane Nash arrives at Tempetle for the soiree too. Beth and Rip get involved, handing over some stirrups, which totally isn't a bribe to sweeten the deal, while Beulah even offers to take him on a tour of the whole ranch. While all this is going on, a big fight breaks out at the Split Heart Bar after a card game goes sideways. Although Tempetle comes out on top, Austin starts to doubt their entire operation. He brings up how Tempetle is corrupt and tries to rally everyone to his cause. The others know the deal here but keep quiet to avoid rustling feathers, while Azul and Zachariah exchange a knowing glance. Now back at the party, things obviously weren't going to be so simple, were they? Rob Will arrives and gate crashes a party, speaking to Beulah in her office. Oriana knew he was going to show up and kept it a secret, smirking as she walks away. As Beulah and Rob Will talk, we start to understand where all this hostility is coming from. And Rob Will has always hated his brother, and his problems have made him the focal point of the entire family. Beulah knows how dangerous he is, and Rob Will blackmails Beulah into submission, demanding that she announce him as the rightful heir to the ranch. He won't let Joaquin have it, and he's willing to kill the guy if she doesn't play ball. That night, Beulah gives her speech and announces that she's handing the ranch over to Rob Will. Nobody is happy, and quite a few people are absolutely shocked. Joaquin walks out and leaves the ranch, while Zane is completely incredulous. Zane confronts Beulah and brings up how she's the one who sold him on the idea of the ranch and the business. Without her, Zane doesn't like the prospects of the ranch being in the hands of a drug addict. As things look set to escalate here, Carter comes stumbling out the house with one of the prized bull heads. He smashes it on the floor, prompting Rip to reprimand his son and force him away. However, just as he does, Beulah grabs her neck and collapses on the floor. As the episode closes out, we cut back to the past one more time. That horrible incident at the rodeo wasn't just a one-off assault. As it turns out, Beulah got pregnant, and she shows up at her abuser's house to break the news. With Mariano sitting watch in the car, Beulah heads inside and shoots Luke in the head. Episode 8 of Dutton Ranch picks up with Beulah Jackson's life hanging in the balance. She's rushed off in an air ambulance and Rob Will joins her at the hospital. Joaquin shows up too alongside Oriana and Everett a little while later, biding their time and awaiting news about Beulah's fate. Off the back of this drama, Rip takes Carter home. He's clearly drunk and Rip is not in a particularly forgiving mood. He tells the kid to get it together and leads him home, ignoring the kid's vomiting and pleas for a break. In the morning, Beth speaks to Carter, who admits he's quit school. His dream is to be a cowboy, so Beth decides they should put that to the test. In fact, he's going straight to Tempetle to put in a hard day's graft. It's certainly a trial by fire for him, especially as Carter is still battling a nasty hangover. Rip works in pretty hard, forcing the kid to tend to a fence and get stuck in with manual labour. We soon learn that Beulah had a heart attack. She's going to be okay and will survive, but also wants to talk to her sons first. With Rob Will and Joaquin in the room, she tells them they need to work together. Furthermore, the reason she changed her mind is because Rob Will was weak and the ranch can be used as his protection. Beth shows up with some flowers to pay her respects, and she shoots daggers at Oriana too. She apologises for Carter's actions, but Beulah shrugs it off, basically chalking it up to boys being boys. Alone, Beth admits she's not exactly thrilled about working alongside Rob Will. She made a deal to work with Beulah, not her son, and she sees him as a liability, but Beulah is dead set on following through with this regardless. Everett also talks about this very same choice afterwards too. Beulah shrugs it off and claims she's beyond caring now, and given how close she came to dying, he agrees to take that final ride with her once she's up and moving again. Back on 10 Petal Ranch, a confrontation between Austin and Miguel threatens to spill over. Zachariah shows and manages to calm things down, but it's definitely touch and go for a while. The more pressing issue though stems from Carter leaving the fence unlocked. He's chewed out by the others over it and eventually decides to leave the ranch and the work outright. Rip isn't exactly pleased, and after a trying day, decides it's time to talk some sense into the kid. Rip does his best to talk to Carter about failure and what it's like to be an orphan. Unfortunately, Carter is so full of rage that he refuses to listen and eventually decides to bust out and leave the ranch completely. Meanwhile, Joaquin brings the gun used to kill Wes Ayers to Sheriff Wade. He's working on finding the body, but right now he wants the guy to issue a warrant. Joaquin will do anything to get Rob Will taken down, but Wade is nonchalant to the whole affair and tells him to play Clue somewhere else. When he wanders down to Dwight's farm, lost and drinking beer, Sheriff Wade approaches. Carter admits he wants a job with him, but Wade shrugs it off and tells him he should go home. Now at the bar, Austin confides in Zachariah and wants to trust him and Rip with a secret. He knows there's a darker secret with 10 Petal, and that night he speaks to Beth and Rip about it. It turns out 10 Petal have an operation down in Mexico that steal and smuggle cattle into the country illegally. All the paperwork is forged for Border Patrol and cattle brokers. It's the only way they've kept the lights on all this time, and the family has been crooked for a while. Wes wanted to get to the bottom of this, and he ended up dead after getting close to Rob Will. The Jacksons have put every ranch at risk in South Texas, which explains why 10 Petal has managed to keep going for so long. As the episode closes out, Joaquin makes the bold decision to phone his dad. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.